Hello everyone, welcome to Gardening TLC. I am Michelle and I live in Northern Illinois, Zone 5. We are getting ready to go on another garden tour. We're coming towards the end of the season, so there's not a lot of them left, but I'm really excited about this one. We are going over to my friend Arch's house where he has a great example of crowd planting. And this is where you're really planting up a lot of plants and some invasives all really close together to really make it so you don't have to mulch and you don't have to weed. It's not a practice that's for everybody, but it certainly works for them. This garden kind of has an Asian bend to it, so let's go take a look. Come on. I want to take this time to introduce you to Arch. Arch is the president of the Council of Rockford Gardeners. They oversee 4 garden clubs here in Rockford, and there's anywhere from 100 to 130 active members, of which I am joining your garden club. I'm so excited about that. I've never been in a garden club, and I'm so excited to be able to join a club with other gardeners so that we can talk gardening, because my friends, they don't want to talk gardening. They think I'm nuts, all the gardening that I do. But I'm excited to join this. So we are at Arch's house, and tell me a little bit about your garden and how long you've been gardening here.
Well, we moved here about 16 years ago, so we started gardening pretty much after we moved in. The front, there was pretty much anything 10 feet taller was already here. We planted everything else. And in the back, the only thing was the 5 big trees. Everything else was barren. There was nothing at all, just the fence and the grass. So our goal originally was just to plant this little area over here around the deck. And then our next goal was to go all the way around the yard. And I remember we were so excited when we first made it all the way around the yard. There was a plant there, a plant there, a plant there, a plant there. And we were so excited, and now we've just added and added and added.
Oh, it is beautiful. I love it. And what's really cool about this garden is you guys are going to see some great examples of layering, some great perennial pairings, and there's a sun area on the other side. Now, we are in fall, so we are on the back end of the gardening time of the garden, but there's still so many great things to look at. We have decided to start in the backyard because one of the things that we want to do is we really want to look at some of the pairings of the shade plants that Arch has throughout his garden. This really is a great example of crowd planting where you're planting things really close together. It fills in, it creates less maintenance, believe it or not, because you have less weeds, you don't have to mulch, and it's kind of that once a year cutback as far as taking care of everything. But what's really cool when you do it this way is you get so many different patterns and textures and colors of greens in the garden. It looks excellent. So we're going to take a closer look at some of those combinations that he's put together because some of them are fabulous. We are going to start right here in the side garden. I love this garden. As we were standing here talking, one of the things that I told Arch was, even though it's green, it's all green, I can pick out at least 7 different colors of green in this garden. The other thing to remember too, when we're looking at this garden, you guys are going to see a lot of ground cover, of which for you, it might be really invasive. I guarantee you somewhere, someplace, a ground cover is invasive. So if you're going to plant ground cover, do your homework and make sure it's really what you want, because it can take over your world. If you want a really good resource to check out who to talk to about ground cover, call your extension office, talk to other gardeners, go to a garden center. They'll know in your area what's invasive and what's not. We're going to kind of scan through this garden, and as you can see here, we've got some beautiful hostas. Tell us everything else that you've got going on in this garden and what inspired some of the plantings that you have in here.
Well, we were trying to get different heights and different textures and different colors, even though, like you said, a lot of it's just shades of different greens. But we started with the ground cover, and then we started adding hostas, different, heights of hostas. And then recently we started putting hostas in elevated pots with stands to kind of give it another complete different look. And then one year we started planting Solomon seal all over behind the hostas because it kind of cantilevered over the top of the hostas and added a whole new kind of a complete different look.
Now I see you have different kinds of ground cover in here, from lamium, ivy, lily of the valley, all different kinds of intermingled ground cover. Do they really do well together?
Oh, they do excellent together, and I know ground cover always seems to get a bad rap, but we use ground cover because we really don't want to have to use mulch. And the ground cover is kind of a natural, way to keep weeds down, so that's why we use a lot of it.
I love this little pond that you have over here. This is so pretty. And you've got little koi's in there, or are those goldfish?
We have a little bit of both. And then I winter them over in the house in a big tank in the basement.
I love the cranes that you have in here too.
The cranes we found on a trip to the Philippines coming back. They were in the Flight magazine and we decided we had to have them, so we ordered them.
I love this. So Arch had this as a fountain and the fountain fell apart, the base.
The base rotted and I fixed it about a dozen times, and then finally I got tired of fixing it, so I bought this bird bath and created a fountain using the bird bath as a base.
One of the things that I see over and over in your garden are punches of red from the little flowers that we have here that are red. Now, what plant is this on?
That is painter's palette, and each one of those little red spots is going to be a new plant one day. So it's very invasive. It spreads like wildflower, but it does control. You can control it pretty easily.
Oh, you have turtle heads in here too.
There's turtle heads several different places because they're nice fall color too.
Oh, all right. So you really like invasive things to give you all that crowded out look.
Well, usually when somebody says it's invasive, we say, oh, we have to have that because it really does fill in. And we want it to fill in because we just don't weed at all.
Okay, and so talk to me about the ferns. Do they take over and do you have to thin them?
The ferns we do have to thin, and they'll come all the way out to the yard. A lot of times we don't really dig them up. We'll just cut them right off to the ground where we don't want them. Usually in the spring, and then they just don't come back.
We have the dreaded sumac. So for me, sumac has been a crazy invasive plant. I planted a tiger's eye in my garden because they weren't supposed to spread as much. I pulled the suckers out from that thing for 2 years. Yours looks awesome.
Well, we do have babies, and behind the fence, sometimes I go out there and there's like a million babies back there. But they are kind of a neat looking plant, and we try to control them.
Look at that sweet autumn clematis. I love that.
That's only like 2 years old.
Yeah, they grow a lot in 1 year. And I like them because you can cut them back to the ground too.
Right, I cut them back every year.
And look at the interesting seed heads that you have. These were all of your fall sunflowers, right?
Fall sunflowers, and then in the back there are some cup plants that are usually get about 10, 12 feet tall.
We've got a nice gazebo here, and it's flanked on either side with a barberry that is a columnar one. So this you think is the
orange rocket.
Orange rocket. And then what is the little white flowering plant?
That's snake root. And then on the other side of the food dog, where it's been cut back, that's actually purple loosestrife, which is really pretty when it's blooming, but it's of course done by now.
Now here where we live, loosestrife is considered an invasive if you try to plant it in a waterway. And I know me as a garden center, I'm not allowed to sell it.
You can't buy it, but you can give it away.
Yeah, if you can find someone that has some, you can get it.
It's beautiful, and it's only invasive if it's a wet area.
Right.
We don't ever get any babies.
Oh yeah, I don't get it at the store either. We have it planted out by one of the gates. It doesn't go anywhere, but it's not wet out there.
Right.
And we got it from our back field.
Right.
So we have a whole bunch of it growing back there. I've got a beautiful burning bush here that you've shaped up. You've cut out all of the lower branches and cleaned it up to make it kind of look like a little miniature tree. That's very clever. We are going to take a quick look down this side bed that's in the sun. It's the only bed in the whole area, front and back, that really gets a lot of sun. So in here, tell me what you've got planted.
Well, we have Joe Pye weed, which is done blooming. And then this, with a kind of white feathery look, that is a Japanese knotweed, which is highly invasive. But
so don't plant all this stuff, you guys. That's a really tall aster.
Yeah, it's a wild version of it.
And then look at this Solidago. Oh my goodness, that's so tall.
And then you can see the sweet autumn climbing up into the trees.
Oh, I do see it back there, right back there, you guys.
Yeah.
And then we've got, is this phlox?
Phlox. This was all in every color of phlox you can think of about a month ago.
Oh my goodness. And you don't really have a lot of powdery mildew.
We don't normally get much.
That's really nice, because with as crowded as this is, you would almost think that you'd have that problem, but I don't see it. And you've got Monarda behind it.
We have a lot of Monarda all over, different colors.
Now,
reds and pinks and purples.
I think what's really smart, and here's the thing with Monarda. I like Monarda too, but it is a spreader, so just know that. But it's got the ugliest little legs on it when it's done blooming. So it's really smart to plant something in front of it to hide those little ugly legs. Real fast, I'm going to run in here. There's a little path that comes down here so I can show you the leaf that's on these cup plants. And I'll put a picture on the screen of what the flowers look like. But look at how big these leaves are.
And then the water collects in here and that's where the birds drink when it rains. That's why they got the name cup plant.
Oh, that is so cool looking. And do those seed all over, or will they just...
No, they just kind of spread outward.
Okay, and then he's got a nice little crab here with some persistent crabs on it. And look, I love that he has these little red bird cages all over. It draws your eye to an area and they pop in the garden. In fact, I like them so much, I went and got myself a bird cage that I can paint red and put in my garden next year. Look at this. This is a trumpet tree. It's a house plant, but look at this flower. Oh my goodness, he's gonna give me a baby to take home. I can't wait. Hopefully I won't kill it.
They're pretty indestructible.
I have one room in my house that can handle houseplants.
That usually is just full of blooms.
That is gorgeous. Is this a normal Solomon seal, or is it that is like a beautiful lime green?
It is normal, but I think it's because it gets so much sun that it's kind of faded out.
I know, but that's really
Yeah,
cool
it's pretty.
looking. I really like the white edge, the lime green color of it.
We're
It's
actually gonna
fabulous.
pull all this out and build a little greenhouse here.
Oh, yeah. Solomon seal is another one that spreads. So almost everything in your garden spreads. Now, this Joe Pye weed, even though it's done blooming, a lot of times, you guys, if you cut this when it still has its purple flowers on it, take the leaves off the stem, take it inside, put it in a vase with a little bit of water, let that water evaporate, and these will dry into these beautiful purple puffs. Spray them with a little hairspray, and they are great as dried flowers inside. He has some really cool houseplants. So tell me about this one here. This is just like the trumpet, but it's different.
It's a different type of trumpet. I think it starts with a D. I think it's decor or something like that. And the blooms, instead of hanging downwards, they shoot upward.
There's a little bloom right there. And then you've got all kinds of beautiful begonias and philodendrons. I love philodendrons and I love begonias. They're two of my favorite plants. They're super easy to grow. And I like when you find the philodendrons that get the really cool leaves on there and they look so different. And then look at this begonia. Isn't the coloring on that great? I love that. And then look, we got more water down here. And check out this guy. He is fabulous looking. This is some kind of succulent.
It's blue Daphne, but it's not been in the sun, so it doesn't have the blue color.
I don't know. It's got a blue hue to it, though. It's beautiful. And I love the window box. I decided to step up onto the porch because I am getting so much into houseplants being brought outside and creating that lushness. I have been now at 2 gardens where there's so many houseplants outside that it creates these little garden rooms and it creates this sense of just lush beauty. And you have quite a few water features, and I really like the water features. This one is really cool. Let's get a closer look. Tell me what these plants are, because those are cool.
Those are cordylines. Those are, when we go in the Philippines, that's our garden has a lot of these in the Philippines. So we've tried to bring some of that home with us.
I was going to say, my cordyline doesn't look like that. There are a lot of different cultivars of a lot of different plants that you think you know what they are until you see what the native looks like from where they really come from.
Right.
That is so cool. And I love the little fountain here, and it's got the little bamboo. That is so cool looking. I love that. And then if we swing around to the other side, there's more water over there. Got another little water fountain right here, and in your pot you have a banana. So tell me, do you overwinter the banana as is? Do you cut it back? Some people wrap it in a towel, keep it in a cool room over the winter.
I've done it probably a dozen different ways, and I think the best way is I just bring it in and see what happens.
Okay, I have one I planted this year. It's in a pretty small pot, so it didn't get very big. And so I'm gonna bring it in and try and overwinter it. You got some little babies here, they're so cute. Now, Erin from the Impatient Gardener has a banana tree, and she has leaves on her banana tree that are bigger, taller. I want to say they're like 12 feet tall. They're insanely big.
Oh, wow.
They're so huge. And I think the bigger the container,
Yeah.
the bigger it'll grow. Here's what I love. He has these little milk jugs, and I see these all the time at, you know, shabby chic shops and antique stores. And in fact, I just bought one, but I bought mine to use as a pedestal to put a pot on. But he has used his as an insert to put a pot in. And what he did was, see, he just potted this up and stuck it right in the top there. And he actually has 2 of them flanking this really cool trumpet plant that he has here. But what a clever way to just make something different in your garden. I also love all the hanging containers that you have. They're all different and unique. I need to find me some that look like this. Now, you were telling me about this asparagus fern.
Yeah, I got it from a friend, and it was probably 25, 30 years old, and I've had it for 10 or 15 years now, so it's probably 45 years old.
Oh my goodness.
And I take it in, cut it back every year and take it in.
And then tell me about these branches. I see these red branches in a lot of your pots, but they're not branches.
No, they're actually plastic. They're from an aquarium store. And I just thought they kind of looked neat and added a little bit of color where you normally wouldn't have color with a green plant.
So do you buy them red or do you paint them red?
They were actually all white. You can get them yellow or white or tan, but I just painted them all red.
Oh, see? Love it. What is that in the tree?
That is a bird nest fern. And in the Philippines, they have all these plants actually growing out of the side of trees. So we wanted to kind of duplicate the look. So we made a little basket and made the fern sit there so it looks like it's growing out of the tree.
I had to get in here closer to see the mechanics of this because I'm doing this. I think this is cool. Now, one of the things that he did do was he has the bird's nest fern. It is in a pot, and then he just took the cocoa liner and wrapped it around the pot, and then he just put an eye hook in the tree and used the twine in the eye hook and then attached it to his plastic pot. That way he can take it back inside and overwinter it. I'm doing this. This is cool. We are coming out of the backyard, coming up to the little side garden here. And I love that he has the flagstone that leads to the pavers, and he's got the moss in between the pavers. And I really do like a running bond like this in a paver or goes around the corner like this, because you're like, where does it go? All right, we're gonna come and check out the front garden. This garden has had a little bit of a transformation over the last couple years. Tell me what happened.
We had a huge ash tree over there that was the biggest tree in the neighborhood that pretty much covered this whole area. Deep shade, and of course the ash tree died. So we've kept everything pretty much the same. Some of the hostas we've moved to the back, but a lot of it we've kept. As long as we water it heavily, they seem to be okay until about this time of the year, and then they start falling apart and dying.
But you have things in here that maybe before didn't do as well as probably they're doing now.
Probably.
So, like, did you add the knockout roses?
All the roses are new within the last 2 years. So they came after the ash tree left.
All right, we're going to venture into the garden a little bit. Oh, I love this Hakanakloa grass. That is a really nice thick clump.
We have it several places. We really enjoy that too.
Yeah, and it's getting a lot of sun and doing really well. This is really bright, a really bright spot in the garden. I like that.
Yeah.
And I like your birds back there.
Those were the first set of birds we bought. Now we have many sets of different birds.
Oh, I love that. And then you said that this piece right here that has the sedum in it, tell me about that piece.
Well, the stand itself is actually for removing a tire from a wheel.
Oh my goodness.
I put a basket on it, and then I planted the sedum probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and it comes back every year, and then I just add another plant of some sort in the center.
Oh
and
my
I use
gosh.
those plastic aquarium pieces again.
Oh, I love that. I love it that we can recycle and use our imagination to create different things in the garden. He has another Unanimous here, and a lot of times when we grow these here, they look like sloppy ground cover. Right. I love the way you've grown this and you've trimmed it into this nice, neat little ball. That is great. I love that. Now, I like it when it looks like this. I don't like it so much when it's sprawled on the ground.
Yeah, I try to keep them in shapes, so they're got a nice look to them.
Oh, I like this fountain too. See, I like the fountains with the little orbs in them. Mm-hmm. They just speak to me. I just like them. And I like that they don't put off so much water that you lose all your water to the wind. We are peeking into the next door neighbor's yard because this is what Arch's yard used to look like. Did you see all that beauty back there? This is another one of my favorite views. When I was here for a garden party this summer, this I thought was fabulous. One, I loved this little lineup of heucheras that he had here and the cutout of the bed that went up and he planted. I loved this Annabelle hydrangea. Even though it probably flops when it's wet, I still love that lime green color with the Hakanakloa grass at the bottom with that fountain in the background. And again, I love these pieces. I have to try and find something like that. Again, those just speak to me. I love metal in the garden. It's like one of my favorite things. I'll give you a closer look here. Isn't that cool? I love that. We are pretty much done touring through the front yard. I love all the different greens again. And again, you guys, this is the end of the year. So we are going to actually come back to this garden next year when it is in the spring. So you can kind of see how it all grows up. And then we'll probably tour it again in the middle of the summer when everything is in its blooming glory. This is the end of the year, and I still think this garden looks fabulous. Yes, there are some things that are looking a little tired, but you know what? It's been a hot, wet year. I love this garden though. I love how lush and thick and full it is. If you are new here, thank you for joining us today. If you liked our videos, please subscribe below, like our videos, share with your friends, and all that good stuff. Also, we still have bulbs available in the Shopify store. I have a QR link right here if you want to go check that out. I also linked the video down below on the 10 steps to planting your fall bulbs if you want to check that out. So just know that those are selling at a fairly moderate pace. There's a couple of them that are sold out already, but if you want in on that, I still have some left. So get your order in sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks so that you're in the window of when they need to be planted. I hope you guys enjoyed the tour over at Arch's house. I had a great time going through the garden with them. I love seeing how different people do things. Crowd planting is certainly a way to decrease your weeds and have a garden that you don't have to mulch. But you got to be careful when you're using invasives. So just know this isn't for everybody, but it works for him and his garden, and it's what he loves to do in his area. For me, I loved the red punches, the water features, and all of the houseplants, all 3 of which I'll be upping my game in next year in my own garden. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you get out in your garden today. It deserves some TLC. Don't forget, so do you, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye, everybody.